Hello everyone. Welcome back to MindPop English. Today, I want to begin with a simple question that many advanced learners rarely ask themselves. What if you could understand every English conversation around you without asking anyone to repeat a single word? Imagine sitting on a bus in London or walking through a cafe in New York, and every phrase, every idiom, every natural expression suddenly becomes clear. No confusion, no hesitation, just pure understanding. If that sounds exciting, stay with me, because during the next 45 minutes, you and I will walk through real conversations, real voices, and real English the way native speakers actually use it, not classroom English. Not textbook English, real-life English. Before we begin the first conversation, I want to prepare your ears. You are about to hear different accents, different speeds of speaking, and different communication styles. Some lines will be fast. Some speakers will interrupt each other. Some phrases may feel unfamiliar. And that is exactly what makes this training powerful. You are not just listening. You are learning how English behaves in the wild, outside the safety of slow, clear teaching audio. As your teacher and guide today, my goal is simple. Help your brain adapt to native English rhythm so naturally that your listening ability grows without stress, without pressure, and without memorizing complicated explanations. This is listening through experience, listening through immersion, listening through real communication. That is how native speakers learn, and today, that is how you will learn as well. Now, let me give you a small challenge before we jump in. Try not to translate anything into your native language during the conversations. Translation slows you down. It blocks your brain from understanding English as English. Instead, try to picture the meaning. Visualize the moment. Feel the situation. That technique is used by many advanced learners who reach near native fluency, and it works because your brain naturally connects sounds to ideas, not sounds to words, and then to ideas. So as you listen, let your imagination follow the story. It does not matter if you miss a few words. What matters is the message, the feeling, the meaning. In part 1, we will begin with a conversation between two friends, Daniel and Maria. The setting is simple, a quiet cafe on a Saturday morning. But the language they use includes some of the most common phrases you will hear from native speakers in relaxed, friendly conversations. As you listen, pay attention to how they agree, disagree, interrupt politely, and share opinions naturally. These small details are what make your listening skills stronger and your speaking more confident. Ready? Let's set the scene. Daniel has just walked into the cafe. Maria is already sitting near the window, enjoying her morning tea. The cafe is calm, but you can hear a little background noise. Soft music, a few people talking, the sound of cups being placed on tables. This environment is important because your brain needs to practice listening even when English is not perfectly quiet or clean. Real conversations are never silent. So let the background noise become part of the experience. Now, here is the conversation. Listen carefully. Afterward, I will give you a short explanation to help you understand the key expressions. Conversation 1. At the cafe. Daniel: Hey, sorry, I'm a few minutes late. The bus took forever this morning. Maria: No worries at all. I just got here myself. How's your week been? Daniel: Honestly, a bit chaotic. Work has been non-stop, and I feel like I haven't slept properly in days. Maria, I know that feeling. This whole month has been exhausting for me too, but at least it's the weekend, right? Daniel, absolutely. I've been counting down since Monday. Maria, did you end up finishing that project you were stressed about? Daniel, barely. I submitted it last night around midnight. I still think it needs a little polishing, but at this point, I just needed to get it done. Maria, I get it. Sometimes you just have to let it go. If you keep trying to make everything perfect, you'll drive yourself crazy. Daniel, exactly. And honestly, I think my manager prefers something done on time rather than something perfect but late. Maria, that makes sense. So, what's your plan for today? Taking it easy? Daniel, that was the idea, but I told my cousin I'd help him move into his new apartment. Maria, oh no, that sounds like a full-day job. Daniel, pretty much. And he lives on the 5th floor with no elevator. Maria, you're kidding. Daniel, I wish. Maria, well, good luck. You're definitely going to need it. Daniel, trust me, I know. Anyway, what about you? Anything exciting? Maria, not really. I'm planning to do some grocery shopping and maybe catch up on a few podcasts. Daniel, which ones are you listening to lately? Maria, mostly personal development and language learning ones. They help me stay motivated. Daniel, nice. Maybe you can send me a few recommendations. Maria, sure. I'll text you the list later. End of conversation 1. Now, before we move into the next segment, let's look at a few natural expressions used here that advanced learners should understand clearly. The phrase "I just got here myself" means the person arrived recently and wants to reassure the other person that they are not late or causing inconvenience. When Daniel says the bus took forever, he does not mean literally forever. It is an exaggeration, very common in casual speech, to express frustration. When Maria says, "Sometimes you just have to let it go," she means you should stop worrying about something you cannot control or improve further without causing stress. And when Daniel says barely to describe finishing his project, he means he completed it, but only with difficulty and not with much time to spare. These expressions help you understand tone, emotion, and intention in English conversations. Advanced listening is not only about vocabulary, it is about understanding why people choose certain phrases and what those phrases communicate beyond the literal meaning. Now let's continue building your listening confidence and fluency. In this part, you will hear a longer and more dynamic conversation, filled with natural expressions that native speakers use when discussing ideas, sharing opinions, and expressing concerns. Remember, your goal is not to catch every word perfectly. Your goal is to follow the flow, feel the emotion, and understand the message. Before we start, here is a quick challenge for your brain. Try to notice how the speakers adjust their tone. In English, tone often carries more meaning than individual words. When someone hesitates, speeds up, slows down, or changes pitch, it tells you how they feel. These small signals are essential for advanced comprehension. Today's second conversation takes place in a co-working space where two colleagues, Jenna and Mark, are meeting to discuss a project. This type of discussion is extremely common in English-speaking workplaces, and it is important for advanced learners to understand the rhythm, the interruptions, and the collaborative style of communication used in professional settings. Imagine the scene: keyboards clicking, chairs rolling, quiet discussions happening in the background. Jenna and Mark sit at a small table near a window with natural light coming in. Both are slightly stressed because a deadline is coming up, but they are trying to stay calm and focused. Ready? Here is the conversation. Conversation 2. The co-working space. Jenna: thanks for meeting on such short notice. I know this week has been hectic for both of us. Mark: no problem at all. Honestly, I needed a break from my desk anyway. My brain's been running on empty since yesterday. Jenna: same here. I've been juggling 3 different tasks, and I'm still not sure which one is the priority. Mark: I can relate. Everything feels urgent lately. Jenna: yeah, and I think that's part of the problem. When everything is urgent, nothing gets done properly. Mark: exactly. Which is why I wanted to talk about the presentation. We're supposed to send the final version tomorrow, but I think we still need to clarify a few points. Jenna: I agree. I reviewed the slides last night, and some sections feel a bit rushed. Mark: do you mean the market analysis part? Jenna: yes. That one, and also the recommendations at the end. I think they sound too general. We need something more specific, something that shows we really understand the client's needs. Mark: I see what you mean. Do you have any ideas for improving it? Jenna: well, I was thinking we could add a short comparison of what their competitors are doing. That would make our suggestions stronger. Mark: that's a solid idea. And maybe we could include a small graphic to make the data easier to understand. Jenna: definitely. People always respond better to visuals. Mark: true. Speaking of visuals, did we ever decide on the color theme for the presentation? Jenna: not really. I liked the blue one, but I'm open to other options. Mark: I think blue works well. It's professional without being boring. Jenna: good. Then let's stick with it. That's one less thing to worry about. Mark: great. So what do you want to tackle first? Jenna: let's start with the recommendations section. If we get that right, the rest of the presentation will feel more solid. Mark: agreed. Jenna: before we get into the details though, I want to ask, are you okay with handling the competitor analysis? I can take care of rewriting the conclusions. Mark: sure. That works for me. I'll probably need a couple of hours, but I can get it done this afternoon. Jenna: perfect. And once you're done, send it my way and I'll integrate everything into the final version. Mark: sounds good. Jenna: by the way, have you talked to the client this week? I feel like they've been unusually quiet. Mark: I haven't heard from them either, but I think they're just busy preparing for their own meeting. Jenna: probably. As long as we deliver a strong presentation, they'll be happy. Mark: they'd better be. We've put so much work into this. Jenna: exactly. And honestly, I think we're on the right track. It just needs a bit more polishing. Mark: I agree. So let's get started. End of conversation 2. Now let's go through some important natural expressions that appeared in the conversation. The phrase running on empty means someone is extremely tired or mentally exhausted. When Jenna says she's juggling 3 different tasks, it means she is handling many responsibilities at the same time. The expression, "everything feels urgent," is a common complaint in busy workplaces, where too many tasks are treated as high priority. When Jenna describes the slides as rushed, she means they were done quickly and need more careful editing. Another important phrase is "that's a solid idea," which is a natural way to express support for someone's suggestion. When they say that's one less thing to worry about, it means a decision has been made, reducing stress or workload. These expressions are essential for sounding natural in professional English settings. But more importantly, they help you understand tone. For example, even though Jenna and Mark are busy and stressed, they communicate with support, collaboration, and respect. This style of communication is highly valued in English-speaking workplaces and often surprises learners from other cultures. Now, here is your listening focus for part 2. Pay attention to how often native speakers soften their opinions. Instead of saying, "we need to do this," they often say, "I think we still need to clarify," or "maybe we could add." This is a common politeness strategy that advanced learners should understand clearly. In this part, we will move into a more personal and relaxed type of conversation. Social conversations are some of the most common listening situations in real life, and they can also be some of the most challenging because they often include jokes, hesitation, spontaneous ideas, and informal expressions. Many learners study English for years but still struggle to understand casual, everyday speech. That is why this section is so important. Your goal in part 3 is to train your ear to recognize natural English as it happens when people talk freely, without preparation, without structure, and without textbook-friendly grammar. Real English is full of interruptions, half sentences, quick changes of topic, and emotional expression. This is exactly the kind of English you will hear in cafes, on the street, during travel, or in daily life abroad. The following conversation takes place at an airport lounge. Two friends, Olivia and Sam, accidentally meet while waiting for their flights. Both are traveling alone, but for very different reasons. The surprise of meeting each other leads to a fun and engaging conversation full of natural expressions, excitement, and a little frustration. Before we begin, imagine the scene. The soft announcements echoing through the speakers, the rolling suitcases, people walking past, the occasional sound of a coffee machine, and that slightly busy but calm airport atmosphere. This background noise is part of real-life listening, and learning to understand English in these environments will make you a stronger listener. Let's begin. Conversation 3. At the airport lounge. Olivia. Wait, Sam? Is that you? Sam. Olivia? No way. What are you doing here? Olivia. I could ask you the same thing. I'm surprised to see you. Sam. I'm flying out to Chicago. Got a last-minute work trip. What about you? Olivia. I'm heading to Tokyo for a short vacation. I've been planning this trip for months. Sam. Tokyo? That sounds amazing. I'm jealous already. Olivia. Trust me, I need this break. Work has been a lot lately. Sam, I get it. My schedule's been all over the place too. I barely know what day it is anymore. Olivia. That bad? Sam. Pretty much. I've been jumping from meeting to meeting, and this trip wasn't planned. They just told me yesterday. Olivia. That must be stressful. Sam. Very. I didn't even have time to pack properly. I just threw a bunch of clothes into my suitcase and hoped for the best. Olivia, I've done that before. Somehow, I always forget something important. Sam, same here. I already know I forgot my phone charger. Olivia, oh no. Well, you can probably buy one at the airport, but it'll cost a fortune. Sam, I know. Airport prices are ridiculous. Olivia, so how long are you staying in Chicago? Sam, just 3 days. It's a quick business trip. I won't have time to explore the city, which is a shame. Olivia, that is a shame. Chicago is amazing. The food alone is worth spending at least a few extra days there. Sam, I know. I really wanted to try some of the places people keep recommending. Olivia, well, maybe next time. So, what's the project about? Sam, we're meeting with a new client, and they want a full proposal by next week. It's a big opportunity, but the timing is terrible. Olivia, it always works out like that, doesn't it? Sam, exactly. Good opportunities never show up at convenient times. Olivia, at least Tokyo will be the perfect escape for me. I've planned everything. I'm visiting Shibuya, Asakusa, Mount Fuji, and I even booked a sushi making class. Sam, that sounds incredible. I would love to take a trip like that. Olivia, you should. Traveling alone is actually really refreshing. Sam, I believe it. I've been wanting to take a break, but something always comes up. Olivia, that's life, I guess. But you should still try to make time for yourself. Sam, you're right. I've been pushing myself too hard lately. Olivia, well, at least you'll get a change of scenery in Chicago. Even a short trip can make a difference. Sam, true. And who knows? Maybe I'll find a few hours to explore. Olivia, you should. Even walking around the riverfront is relaxing. Sam, I'll try. Olivia, what time is your flight? Sam, boarding in about 40 minutes. Olivia, same here. Sam, well, what are the odds we'd run into each other like this? Olivia, pretty low, but I'm glad we did. Sam, me too. It's nice to talk to someone before a long flight. Olivia, definitely. Safe travels, Sam. Sam, you too, Olivia. Have an amazing time in Tokyo. Olivia, thanks. See you when we're both back. Sam, absolutely. End of conversation 3. Now let's highlight a few natural expressions that advanced learners should pay attention to. The phrase, "no way," is a very common reaction when someone is surprised in a positive or unexpected way. When Sam says, "My schedule's been all over the place," he means his work life has been chaotic and unpredictable. The expression, "I just threw a bunch of clothes into my suitcase," means he packed quickly without planning. When Olivia says airport prices are ridiculous, she means they are extremely high. The sentence, "It always works out like that, doesn't it?" is a typical way to express that something happens frequently and predictably. Finally, when Olivia says traveling alone is refreshing, she means it feels new, relaxing, and mentally healthy. These expressions are important because they show how natural English is emotional and descriptive. Native speakers often use exaggeration, humor, and short emotional reactions to show their feelings. Understanding these helps you follow conversations smoothly, even when people speak quickly. Before we move to part 4, here is your listening challenge. Try to notice how quickly the topic shifts. In natural English, People move from travel to work to stress to food and back again without warning. This is normal. Your brain needs to practice following these transitions. In Part 4, we're going to shift from everyday conversations to a deeper, more thoughtful discussion. Advanced learners often struggle when conversations become emotional, reflective, or philosophical, because native speakers tend to use metaphor, subtle humor, and complex sentence rhythms. But mastering this type of listening is essential if you want real fluency. Today's conversation takes place during an evening walk in a quiet neighborhood park. Two siblings, Ethan and Claire, are catching up after several months apart. They talk about career choices, personal goals, and the pressure of expectations. The tone is calm, gentle, and meaningful. For many learners, this kind of conversation is harder to understand than fast speech because the meaning is hidden beneath feelings, pauses, and implied ideas. Before we begin, visualize the setting. The evening sky turning soft blue, a few street lamps glowing, the sound of leaves under their shoes, and the quiet hum of distant traffic. The environment feels peaceful, and their conversation reflects that mood. This kind of emotional context is what gives depth to English listening. Let's begin. Conversation 4. Evening walk in the park. Ethan, thanks for meeting me tonight. I know you've been busy. Claire, of course. I've missed talking to you. It feels like forever since we caught up properly. Ethan, I know. The last few months have been a lot. Claire, I could tell from your messages. What's been going on? Ethan, honestly, I've been feeling stuck. Work's been stressful, and I'm starting to wonder if I'm even in the right field. Claire, really? I thought you liked your job. Ethan, I did. Or at least I thought I did. But lately everything feels repetitive. I wake up, go to work, come home, and it all feels the same. Claire, I get that. It's exhausting when life starts to feel like a routine you didn't choose. Ethan, exactly. And every time I try to make a change, I end up talking myself out of it. Claire, because it feels risky? Ethan, yeah. I keep thinking, what if I make the wrong choice? What if I regret it? Claire, I've asked myself those same questions, but sometimes doing nothing is the bigger risk. Ethan, true, but it's still scary. Claire, it is. Change always is. But you're not alone in this. Ethan, thanks. It helps just to talk about it. Claire, so what would you do if you weren't afraid? Ethan, I've been thinking about going back to school, maybe studying something creative. Claire, that actually sounds like something you'd enjoy. Ethan, maybe. But then I think about the time, the cost, and everything else that comes with it. Claire, those are real concerns. But they shouldn't stop you from exploring the possibility. Ethan, I know. It just feels complicated. Claire, most important things are. But complicated doesn't mean impossible. Ethan, I guess I just don't want to disappoint anyone. Claire, who exactly are you trying not to disappoint? Ethan, I don't know. Mom, Dad, myself, maybe everyone. Claire, you're not responsible for meeting everyone's expectations. You're responsible for living your own life. Ethan, that's easier said than done. Claire, of course, but that doesn't make it less true. Ethan, do you ever feel like you're behind? Claire, all the time. But recently I realized something. Everyone's timeline is different, and comparing yourself to others only steals your peace. Ethan, that makes sense. I just wish I believed it more. Claire, then start small. Take one step towards something that excites you. You don't have to commit to everything at once. Ethan, like what? Claire, maybe a short course, or a workshop, or even just reading more about what interests you. Ethan, that sounds manageable. Claire, exactly. You don't need to change your whole life overnight. Ethan, yeah, I guess I've been trying to solve everything at once. Claire, most people do, but life rarely works like that. Ethan, thanks for listening. I really needed this conversation. Claire, anytime. That's what siblings are for. Ethan, so how about you? How have you been? Claire, honestly, better than last year. I've been focusing on slowing down and taking things one day at a time. Ethan, that sounds nice. Claire, it is. Not easy, but nice. Ethan, how'd you do it? Claire, I stopped trying to fix everything. I started paying attention to the small things instead. Ethan, like what? Claire, morning walks, cooking for myself, calling friends, things that make me feel grounded. Ethan, that sounds peaceful. Claire, it is, and you can find that peace too. You just need to give yourself permission. Ethan, I'll try. Claire, that's enough for today. Ethan, thanks, Claire. Claire, anytime. Let's walk a bit more before we head home. Ethan, yeah, I'd like that. End of conversation 4. Now let's highlight a few natural expressions that advanced learners should understand clearly. When Ethan says, "I've been feeling stuck," he means he feels unable to move forward or make progress in life. The phrase "talking myself out of it" means convincing yourself not to do something even though you want to. When Claire asks, "What would you do if you weren't afraid?" she is asking him to imagine his choices without fear limiting him. Another key expression is, "Everyone's timeline is different," which means people grow, succeed, and change at different speeds. And when Claire says complicated doesn't mean impossible, she is offering emotional encouragement, not just information. This type of conversation requires deeper listening because the meaning comes from tone, pauses, and emotional context. Understanding emotional English helps you connect more authentically with native speakers. In Part 5, we are moving into one of the most challenging listening situations for advanced learners. Fast, spontaneous conversation with overlapping speech. When native speakers get excited, curious, or passionate about a topic, they often interrupt each other, finish each other's sentences, or jump in before the other person is done. This is natural in English, and learning to follow these moments will greatly strengthen your listening skills. Today's conversation takes place during a group project meeting at a university library. 4 students are involved: Lily, Jason, Harper, and Tom. They are working on a research presentation, and everyone has strong opinions about how it should be structured. Because of this, the conversation becomes animated, fast-paced, and slightly chaotic. This type of listening is essential for anyone who wants to understand English in dynamic environments such as classrooms, group discussions, team projects, or social gatherings. Many learners find it difficult because the speech patterns are unpredictable. But the more you expose yourself to these situations, the easier they become. Before we begin, imagine the scene. The quiet buzz of the university library, occasional footsteps, printers humming in the background, and the 4 students sitting around a table covered with laptops, notebooks, and coffee cups. They are tired but energetic, determined to finish their work. Ready? Here is the conversation. Conversation 5. University Group Project. Lily. Okay, guys, we really need to figure out the structure for this presentation. We're running out of time. Jason. I agree. But before we talk about structure, can we look at the data again? I think some of it doesn't fit our main argument. Harper. Wait. What do you mean it doesn't fit? We decided yesterday that the data set supported our conclusion. Jason. Yeah, but I rechecked it this morning and the numbers from last quarter don't match the trend we expected. Tom, you're kidding. Jason, I wish I were. Lily, hold on. Can someone explain what's going on? I'm lost. Jason. The growth rate drops in the last quarter, which makes our projection look weaker. Harper. But that doesn't make sense. The company expanded a lot during that time. Jason. I know, which is why I'm confused. Tom. Maybe we misinterpreted the source. Harper. I doubt it. I checked it twice. Jason. I'm not saying anyone misinterpreted anything. I'm just saying we need to double-check before we present it. Lily. Okay. But if the data is off, do we need to rewrite the whole conclusion? Harper. No, we don't. We just need to clarify the dip and explain why it happened. Tom. Do we even know why it happened? Harper. Not yet, but we can look it up. Jason. I can dig into it right now. Lily. Guys, we're getting distracted. We still haven't decided on the structure. Tom. Right. Sorry. Harper. Okay, so structure. I think we should start with the problem statement. Jason. Wait. Shouldn't we begin with the industry overview first? Harper. No, that's too general. Jason. But it gives context. Lily. You two do this every time. Tom. Can I suggest something? Harper. Sure, go ahead. Tom. Why don't we combine both ideas? We start with a short industry overview, just 1 or 2 slides, and then transition into the problem statement. Jason. Actually, that makes sense. Harper. I guess that could work. Lily. Finally. Something we all agree on. Tom. Don't get used to it. Jason. Okay. So after the problem statement, we explain our research method, right? Harper. Yes, but we should also highlight why our method was the best choice. Lily. And then we present the findings, including the dip in the growth rate. Jason. Exactly. Tom. Should we mention the competitor comparison? Harper. Absolutely. That's one of our strongest points. Lily. Okay, great. So the flow is overview, problem, method, findings, competitor comparison, conclusion. Jason. Works for me. Harper. Same here. Tom. Perfect. Lily. Now, who's doing which section? Jason. I can handle the data explanation and the growth rate dip. Harper. I'll take the competitor comparison and the method. Tom. I can do the industry overview. Lily. That leaves the conclusion for me. Jason. Works out nicely. Harper. But can we please make sure all the slides look consistent? Last time our fonts were all over the place. Tom, that was not my fault. Lily, it was definitely your fault. Tom, okay, maybe a little. Jason, let's just use the same template this time. Harper, agreed. Tom, and maybe choose a simple color scheme so it looks clean. Lily, yes, please, no neon colors this time. Tom, hey, the neon green was an experiment. Jason, a failed experiment. Harper, a very failed experiment. Tom, okay, I get it. Lily, good. Now deadlines. When can everyone finish their parts? Jason, I can get mine done by tonight. Harper, same here. Tom, I'll need until tomorrow morning. Lily, that's fine. I'll put everything together once I have all the sections. Jason, great. Harper, sounds good. Tom, perfect. Lily, okay, team. Let's make this our best presentation yet. End of conversation 5. Now let's break down some important listening points. The phrase "I'm lost" is a common way to say someone no longer understands the discussion. When Jason says, "I can dig into it right now," he means he will research or investigate immediately. The expression, "You two do this every time," is a playful way to point out repeated behavior between friends or teammates. Tom's line, "Don't get used to it," is a joking way to say that agreement is rare. And using phrases like "hold on," "wait," or "guys" helps signal transitions, interruptions, or changes in direction. This conversation is fast, layered, and full of small emotional expressions. These are exactly the listening challenges that prepare you for real-life English in group settings. In Part 6, we shift into a different kind of listening challenge: storytelling. When native speakers tell stories, they use a mix of past tenses, descriptive language, emotional reactions, and vivid details. They often speed up during exciting parts, slow down during reflective parts, and add small comments to keep the listener engaged. This creates natural rhythm and texture in spoken English. Many advanced learners struggle with this because storytelling in English is not linear. Speakers jump back and forth in time, interrupt their own story, or add extra details for humor or emphasis. Today's conversation will help you train your ear to handle these unpredictable patterns. Our next scene takes place during a weekend barbecue at a friend's backyard. Two friends, Mason and Riley, have not seen each other in a long time, and Mason begins telling a story about something surprising that happened to him during a recent hiking trip. Riley reacts naturally, interrupting occasionally, asking questions, and expressing shock or curiosity, exactly what native speakers do when hearing a good story. Imagine the setting: a warm afternoon, the smell of grilled food in the air, soft music playing, the sound of friends laughing in the background, and the occasional crackling of the barbecue fire. Mason and Riley sit at a picnic table a little away from the crowd, catching up. Let's begin. Conversation zest. Weekend barbecue storytelling. Riley: It's been ages. What have you been up to lately? Mason: Oh man, you won't believe what happened 2 weeks ago. Riley: Really? What happened? Mason: So, remember how I told you I wanted to start hiking more this year? Riley: Yeah. You mentioned that. Mason: Well, I finally did it. I went on this long trail up in the mountains. It was supposed to be a simple day hike. Riley. Supposed to be? Mason. Yeah, that's the key word. It ended up being way more intense than I expected. Riley. How bad was it? Mason. Okay, so I started early in the morning. The weather was perfect, cool, clear, and sunny. I felt amazing. Riley. Sounds great so far. Mason. It was. For the first 2 hours, everything was smooth. The trail was easy, and the view was incredible. Riley. So where did things go wrong? Mason. Around noon. I took a wrong turn without realizing it. Riley. Oh no. Mason. Yeah. The trail split into 2 paths, and I didn't see the sign. I ended up going deeper into the forest. Riley. How long were you walking in the wrong direction? Mason. Almost an hour. Riley. An hour? Mason. Yup. And the worst part is, I didn't notice until the path suddenly got super steep and narrow. Riley. So what did you do? Mason. At first I tried to stay calm. I checked the map on my phone, but of course I had no signal. Riley. Classic. Mason. Right? So I thought, okay, no big deal, I'll just turn around. But when I did, I realized I had missed several landmarks on the way back, which made me even more confused. Riley. That sounds stressful. Mason. It was. And it gets better. About 15 minutes later, I heard something moving in the bushes behind me. Riley. No way. What was it? Mason. I didn't know at first. I froze. I honestly thought it might be a bear or something. Riley. Don't tell me it was a bear. Mason. Thankfully, no. After a few seconds, this huge deer walked out. Riley. A deer? Mason. Yeah. A massive one. It just stared at me. I stared at it. For a moment, we were both confused. Riley. That sounds hilarious now, but I bet it wasn't funny then. Mason. Definitely not funny then. My heart was racing, but the deer eventually walked away. Riley. So after all that, how did you find your way back? Mason. I actually met another hiker. Riley. Really? Out there? Mason. Yeah. I heard footsteps behind me and thought, great, another deer. But it was this guy in his 40s. Super friendly. He knew the trail well and helped me get back to the main path. Riley. That's lucky. Mason. Very. If he hadn't shown up, I probably would have been lost for hours. Riley. I can't believe all of that happened in one hike. Mason. Me neither. When I got back to my car, I just sat there for 10 minutes trying to process everything. Riley. I would have gone straight home and slept for 12 hours. Mason. I almost did. But first, I bought the biggest bottle of water I could find. I didn't realize how dehydrated I was. Riley. Wow. What a day. Mason. Seriously. But you know what? It didn't scare me away from hiking. Riley. Really? Mason. Yeah. In a weird way, it made me want to go again. Riley. You're braver than I am. Mason. Or just more stubborn. Riley. Probably both. Mason. But I did learn a few things. Always check the trail markers. Bring a paper map, not just a phone. And never underestimate how quickly things can change outdoors. Riley. Good lessons. Mason. Definitely. And next time, I'm going with someone. No more solo adventures for a while. Riley, smart choice. And please, no more deer staring contests. Mason, I'll try my best. End of conversation 6. Now let's highlight a few essential elements from this segment. The expression, "you won't believe what happened," is a common way to begin an exciting or surprising story. The phrase supposed to be indicates that something did not go according to plan. When Mason says "I froze," he means he stopped moving because of fear or shock. The expression, "my heart was racing," means he felt extremely nervous or scared. This type of storytelling requires advanced listening because the speaker changes emotional tone, pace, and focus throughout the story. Learning to follow the emotional rhythm is just as important as understanding vocabulary. In Part 7, we shift into a more formal, analytical style of conversation, the kind you often hear in podcasts, interviews, expert discussions, or educational talks. This type of listening requires you to follow complex ideas, logical structures, and clear arguments. Native speakers tend to speak more deliberately in these contexts, but their explanations may include advanced vocabulary, abstract concepts, and subtle differences in meaning. For advanced learners, mastering this listening style is essential, especially if you want to understand English in professional settings, academic environments, or high-level media. The key is to pay attention to how speakers support their opinions, transition between ideas, and respond thoughtfully to each other's points. Today's scene features a recorded conversation between two experts in a studio environment. The setting is a quiet room with high-quality microphones, soft acoustic panels on the walls, and the calm, focused atmosphere of a professional podcast recording. The two speakers are Dr. Anna Foster, a cognitive psychologist who studies learning and memory, and Michael Chen, a productivity and communication strategist. They are discussing how people learn languages effectively and why some students improve faster than others. Their conversation includes examples, explanations, and practical insights. Let's begin. Conversation 7. Expert discussion in a podcast studio. Michael, Anna, thanks so much for joining me today. I've been looking forward to this conversation. Anna, thanks for having me, Michael. I'm excited to dive into this topic. Michael, so I want to start with something that a lot of learners struggle with. Many people study a language for years, but their progress feels slow. Why does that happen? Anna, that's a great question. In my research, I've noticed that most learners focus on knowledge, not habits. They try to memorize vocabulary or grammar rules, but they don't build consistent learning routines. Michael, so you're saying the problem isn't ability but behavior? Anna, exactly. Learning a language is less about talent and more about creating reliable habits. If you study for 15 minutes daily, you'll often make more progress than someone who studies for 2 hours once a week. Michael, that makes sense. Consistency compounds. Anna, right. And another thing that slows learners down is fear. Many adults are afraid of making mistakes. Michael, I see that all the time with my clients. They worry about sounding imperfect. Anna, yes, but perfection is the enemy of progress. The brain learns faster when it feels safe to make errors and correct them. Michael, so how do learners create that sense of safety? Anna, they need exposure. Lots of exposure. Listening to natural conversations watching content without subtitles, practicing with real people. When input becomes familiar, fear decreases. Michael: That's interesting, because I've noticed something similar in productivity. People improve faster when they reduce the emotional pressure around the task. Anna: Absolutely. Emotional pressure slows down cognitive processing. Michael: So would you say listening practice is more important than speaking practice at the beginning? Anna: In most cases, yes. Listening is the foundation. When you understand the rhythm, patterns, and structure of the language, speaking becomes much easier. Michael: That matches my experience learning Spanish. Once I understood how native speakers connected words and phrases, it transformed my confidence. Anna: Exactly. And learners often underestimate the power of passive learning. Even listening while doing chores can help your brain absorb patterns unconsciously. Michael: That's really helpful. Now, I want to touch on another issue: motivation. A lot of people start with excitement, but after a few weeks, they lose momentum. Why does motivation drop so quickly? Anna: Motivation is like a spark. It starts the fire, but it can't keep it burning. What keeps learning alive is identity. Michael: Identity? Can you explain? Anna: Sure. When someone begins to see themselves as a language learner, not just someone studying English, but someone who lives through English, their habits become stronger. They don't need motivation every day because it becomes part of who they are. Michael: That's powerful. So the key is shifting from external motivation to internal identity. Anna: Exactly. And one of the easiest ways to build that identity is by creating small, daily rituals: morning listening sessions, evening vocabulary reviews, simple habits that reinforce the idea, I am someone who learns English. Michael: I love that. And it's true, small habits shape big outcomes. Anna: They do. And another factor we shouldn't ignore is environment. If learners surround themselves with English music, podcasts, apps, conversations, improvement becomes almost inevitable. Michael: So immersion doesn't have to mean living abroad? Anna: Not at all. Immersion is a mindset, not a location. Michael: I like that definition. Now, before we wrap up, what's one thing you wish every English learner understood? Anna: That fluency is not a destination. It's a practice. You don't arrive at fluency. You maintain it. You feed it. You grow it. Michael: That's a beautiful way to put it. Anna: Thank you. And I truly believe that if learners focus on habits, exposure, and identity, they can make progress faster than they ever expected. Michael: Amazing insights. Anna: Thank you again for being here. Anna: My pleasure. Thanks for the great conversation. End of Conversation 7. Now let's break down some important features of this conversation. The phrase "dive into this topic" means to begin exploring something deeply. When Anna says consistency compounds, she means small actions repeated over time produce large results. The expression "perfection is the enemy of progress" is a common English saying used to encourage people to take action even if it isn't perfect. The idea that immersion is a mindset shows how English learning doesn't depend on geography. And when Anna says fluency is not a destination, she means it is something you continue practicing rather than something you complete once and for all. This style of formal, structured conversation teaches you to follow arguments, identify main ideas, and understand abstract concepts. It is excellent training for advanced listening. In Part 8, we will bring everything together by ending with a reflective, inspirational monologue designed to strengthen both your listening comprehension and your motivation. After listening to real conversations, casual, emotional, fast-paced, analytical, the final section helps your brain tie these experiences together. This type of reflective speech trains you to understand English as it becomes calmer, deeper, and more philosophical. Think of this part as the closing message of a long, meaningful podcast episode. Something you hear at the end of a long day that leaves you thinking about how far you've come and where you want to go next on your English learning journey. Imagine a quiet evening setting, gentle music fading in the background, a soft voice guiding you through your thoughts, the feeling of slowing down after a busy day. That is the tone of this final part. Let's begin. Reflection and closing final monologue. You've just completed a full journey through 45 minutes of real English conversations. Different voices, different emotions, different situations. Some moments were fast, some were calm. Some were messy and unpredictable. Others were thoughtful and structured. But every part had the same purpose: to help you step into the world of real English, the English that people use every day. And now, as we reach the end of this practice session, I want you to take a moment to think about something important. Think about where you were when you first started learning English. Maybe you only knew a few simple words. Maybe speaking made you nervous. Maybe listening felt overwhelming. But here you are now, understanding advanced conversations, following complicated ideas, and noticing the rhythm of real communication. This progress didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen because of luck or talent. It happened because you showed up. You practiced. You listened. You made the choice to improve. And that choice matters more than anything else. Learning a language is not a straight path. It's more like a journey through different landscapes. Some days feel like clear skies, where everything makes sense and your confidence is strong. Other days feel like fog when you don't understand a sentence, or you feel stuck, or you wonder if you're improving at all. But let me tell you something important. Even on the days when it feels like you're not learning, your brain is still growing. Every sound you hear, every phrase you recognize, every moment of confusion followed by clarity, it all adds up. Real progress in English is built through thousands of tiny steps that you might not notice at first. But when you look back, you realize how far you've come. And today, you took another step forward. In this final section, I want to leave you with 3 powerful ideas, 3 ideas that can change the way you learn English forever. First, remember that consistency beats intensity. Practicing for 10 minutes every day is more effective than studying for 2 hours once a week. Your brain learns best through repetition, routine, and gentle exposure. Create small habits, a morning listening session, an evening reading moment, a notebook where you write down interesting phrases. These habits build your fluency faster than you can imagine. Second, embrace mistakes. Mistakes are not failures, they are teachers. Every time you mispronounce a word or misunderstand a sentence, your brain adjusts. It learns. It strengthens. Mistakes are the bridges that connect your present level to your future fluency. So don't hide from them. Welcome them. They are part of your growth. And third, immerse yourself. Surround yourself with English in as many forms as possible. Music, podcasts, movies, books, short videos, conversations, messages, voice notes, whatever you enjoy. The more English becomes part of your daily life, the more natural it feels, and the faster you improve. You don't need to travel abroad to create immersion. You can build it right where you are, little by little, day by day. But beyond all these techniques, there is something even more powerful: belief. You must believe that you can become fluent. You must believe that English is not something outside of you, but something you can own, something you can shape, something you can live through. Fluency is not only about skill, it is also about identity. When you see yourself as someone who learns, someone who grows, someone who improves, you become unstoppable. So take a moment now, breathe, and let your mind absorb everything you have learned today. Think about the conversations you listened to: the airport, the park, the workplace, the cafe, the expert studio, the barbecue, the group project. These are moments of real life, and by understanding them, you are stepping into real English. You are building a future where you can speak confidently, understand effortlessly, and connect deeply with people around the world. And as we come to the end of this video, I want to remind you of something simple but powerful. You are capable of more than you think. Your English can go further. Your confidence can grow stronger. Your understanding can become sharper. All you need is to keep going, keep listening, keep learning, keep showing up. Even on the days when it feels slow, even on the days when it feels difficult, especially on the days when you doubt yourself, because those are the moments that shape you into the speaker you want to become. Thank you for spending this time with MindPop English. Thank you for choosing to improve yourself today. And thank you for trusting me to guide you through this journey. Whenever you're ready for the next challenge, the next lesson, or the next listening practice, I'll be here. Until then, take care of yourself. Stay consistent. And remember, you are becoming more fluent every day, even when you don't notice it. End of final monologue.